Today we're going to be talking about finding your purpose. There is nothing worse than working in a job that you hate. A job that sucks your soul, where you're doing meaningless things all the time, and you're living a life really below your potential. But what if I said it's not something that you have to do, and in the next 6 to 12 months, you could be living a completely different life? Robert Greene said that when you were born, you're a phenomenon. You are unique, and your DNA has never existed in the universe before, and it's a grave disappointment if you don't follow your own path. Over the last 5 years, I've had 6 jobs. I've tried to start a business 2 times. I've started 4 YouTube channels. And through all these failures and experiences, I've been able to come closer and closer to finding the thing that feels like play to me, but looks like work to others. In other words, finding my purpose. In this video, I share with you 1, why the script is sucking your soul and why it's actually just not worth going down it. Number 2, I share with you the fast lane to purpose and wealth. And number 3, I share with you 5 actionable principles that you can practice today and for the rest of your life to make sure that you are living a life on purpose. Let's get into it. We all know the script. Go to school, get good grades, get a good job, buy a house, get married, have kids. But what if I said that this script was the stupidest script that was ever created in the history of the universe? What if I said that there's something far more unique, something far more meaningful out there for you? Let me tell you a story. When I was younger, I had an older brother. Well, I still do. And this older brother was very academic. He was talented at music. He used to be the chairman of charity drive. He used to be a prefect. And I looked up to him and I was like, well, this is a great role model for me to copy. And if you think about in evolutionary psychology, it makes sense for younger brothers to copy their older brothers, right? Because if I was in this tribe and I was trying to get stronger and get better and survive, because there are predators about like lions and I don't know, rival tribes, then yeah, it would make sense for me to copy because then I would learn the good traits from him that would have allowed him to survive and that would make me survive. And so I did the exact same hobbies as him. I went to play tabla, which is these Indian drums, and I used to play the piano. I used to go and play tennis because he used to go play tennis. I even got this haircut, right? And even my cousins did. This is how people copy when they're younger. I got this haircut and we all looked like an Indian Justin Bieber band. Honestly, it was like an old school Justin Bieber haircut. God knows why we thought it was a good look, but we went for it. And the problem with this, going back to Robert Greene's quote, is that if we just continually copy other people, then how are we going to find the path that is unique to us? Because all of us have this unique DNA, right? Your DNA will never exist again in the universe and has never existed before, which means that you are uniquely designed to do one thing that no one else can do. Okay? No one else can do it better than you. And so if we go down the path and we're copying things from other people, and then as we get older, we see things on the news, we see our parents and they say do things, we look at our friends and our school and our teachers say things, and we take in all of these information, then we end up going a path that is not uniquely designed for us. And I'll give you another example. I was deciding that I wanted to go to university. In fact, I knew inside that I didn't actually really want to go, but you know what, I was following what my teachers were saying, I was following what my parents were saying. And it was in year 13, and I was like, I don't know what the fuck I want to do. And so I just looked around, and I had a mate, he was pretty smart, and he was like, I'm going to do economics at Warwick. And I was like, you know what, I'm going to go do economics at Warwick. And so that's what I did. And so this is how far that we actually get conditioned into making decisions that don't align with our unique path. And so what we need to do really is wake up. Because if we continue down this path that society, our parents, our teachers, our friends have told us to go down, or we have learned from them to go down, then we will never, ever, ever, ever find the path that is meant right for us. And maybe it is becoming an accountant and filling in spreadsheets for the rest of your life. But the thing is, you're probably going to get replaced by AI. And so this is not only a really great thing to be able to do in the age of the internet, which I'm going to speak about in a minute, but it's probably the safest thing that you can do. And it's the riskiest move to go down a job and a route that everyone else is doing, because if by definition lots of people can do it, AI probably will be able to replace it. And that's the truth of the matter. So we go down this path, we get scammed, we feel unfulfilled, we feel meaningless. But what most people do is that they inflate their lifestyle, they inflate their expenditures. And so they will spend more money on things that make them feel better. They'll go shopping on the weekends, they'll go out for nice dinners, they'll buy a nice house. And eventually they're at this point 10 years or 20 years down the line and they're like, fuck, I'm still in this job. Like, I work with this guy, he's a lawyer, I'm helping him with fitness and stuff. And he's just so stressed. And he even says to me, like, my work pays me well, I have a mortgage, I don't want to sacrifice my lifestyle, so I will just keep running myself into the ground. And think about this for a second, right? He wakes up in the morning, checks his emails because he's stressed about something coming up and he feels like he needs to reply to it immediately, and then he'll go back to sleep. Just think about what that's going to do to your brain, not on a day-to-day basis, but like over 10 years, constantly checking your email first thing in the morning. It's literally like being rampaged by a pride of lions every single morning in the savannah when you're a hunter-gatherer. That's how much stress that you're causing your body when you do that. And most people just accept it. Most people are just like, yeah, right, cool. I'm just gonna live this life. And I'm gonna share with you how you can wake up, the things that you can do to wake up, because this is what I did. But before that, I need to explain to you why it's so important to wake up. Because we are in a point in history where there is more opportunity than ever before. Just think about this for a second. 27, 28 years ago, Reed Hastings and Mark Randolph started a company called Netflix. And the way in which they started Netflix was they would get DVDs, they would put them into envelopes, and they would ship them out to the people that wanted the DVDs. And then the people would watch the DVDs, but then they would have to send it back. And so it would be quite a long process thinking about how Netflix is today, right? Because today, what you can do is literally go onto your phone, you can be sitting on the fucking Northern Line, sweating your ass off, and you have access to the whole Marvel Cinematic Universe literally with 3 taps of your fingers, right? But back then it was such a long-winded process. You'd have to go online, you'd have to click the movies that you want, you'd have to wait like 2 or 3 days before it got to you. And so just in 28 years, think about how fast technology has progressed. And you think that going down the same route that your parents went down with all this technological advancement makes sense? Of course it doesn't, right? Like, if things have changed that much, then surely the traditional route to wealth has also changed, right? If people are spending money in different ways, just think about it like this. If people are spending money in different ways, right? They're spending money on different things. Like, you're spending money on Netflix, you're spending money on Uber, you're spending money on Deliveroo. These things didn't exist before. Then how do you think that the traditional school route that your parents went down is the exact same route to building wealth? Obviously there's a mismatch there, because the value that is being created in society is not the same way that you're trying to gain value, right? And so we're going through this revolution right now, and either you're going to be on one side of it, you're going to be on the winning side, you're going to be on the side that is learning to use technology, and I'm going to share exactly why this is like even more crazy in a minute. But are you going to use technology to advance your life and build real wealth, or are you going to just stay stuck in the past? It's completely up to you. And the thing is, right, there's a futurist called Ray Kurzweil. I don't know how to pronounce his name. And he said that if you're 10 today, by the time you're 60, you will experience a year's worth of change in 11 days, right? And so what was 28 years, that change will experience in a year. And so the time that is taken from Netflix to go from birth to what it is today will happen in a year, right? And so there is way more opportunity than ever before. There are new jobs being created every single fucking second. There are new ways to make money created every single second, new AI tools, new this, new that. You can spin up a business in buttfuck nowhere and literally serve someone across the world and make shitloads of money, right? And so this means, going back to purpose, that there are infinite number of ways in this day and age to find things that completely aligns with your unique strand of DNA. Because maybe in the past, right, you had to go become the accountant in your local town because there was not as much about, right? There was not many options. But we have infinite options. You can literally go on YouTube and start a YouTube channel and start chatting some wass like I am right now and make money from it. You can write on Substack. And by the way, if you want to check out my Substack, click the link in the description and you can make money from it. These things didn't exist 20 years ago. And in 20 years, there's going to be infinite number of more opportunities to do things that align with yourself. I don't even know what an NFT is. I still don't. But that apparently makes people money. I'm living in Bali right now. People are doing the craziest things. There's a 20-year-old Hungarian video editor that makes more than your parents do combined. And he's 20 years old and he literally video edits for people around the world. How crazy is that? These jobs didn't exist before. And so just get it in your head right now that there is immense opportunity in the world. There is more than anything like that you could fathom in the world, and you need to wake up. And this is what I'm going to share with you next with the 5 principles. So now we understand that the traditional script is not really the right path for you. All right. We also know that waking up is important, especially in this rapidly evolving world. But how are we going to do that? It's not going to be about following a step-by-step approach, right? Because let's be honest, like I said, the world is changing faster than ever before. You're going to experience way more change every single year than ever before. And so having a step-by-step process to find wealth and build wealth isn't really that helpful, because in 2 years' time, there's going to be a different system. But what I want to share with you is the 5 principles that have allowed me to become the person that I am today, that is open to change, that feels on purpose, that feels like he has a life of meaning, that feels a sense of abundance, so that you can go away and not only practice this today, but you can practice this for the rest of your life. Now, the first principle for gaining clarity is pretty radical, but it will completely change your life in more ways than you could ever imagine. So let me tell you a story. When I was in my first year of university, which I spent taking drugs, drinking alcohol, eating fast food, doing all of these different things, I got pretty overweight. I was 125 kilos. And at the end of this year, I was lucky enough to be able to go to Colombia. So I traveled all alone across the Atlantic Ocean and landed in Colombia. And I remember walking outside of the airport and feeling this massive sense of anxiety as I walked out, because I was like, oh fuck, like what the fuck am I doing here? But I did it. And it was life-changing, and it was life-changing for this reason, because I went there and I was thrown into this environment. I had to speak to new people that I'd never met before. But even more than that, I had to do things like learn Spanish because I couldn't speak to the locals. And that gave me confidence. But even more than that, I went on this hike, and I was 125 kilos, so a pretty big lad at the time. And my mum had told me, like, mate, you got to train for this. But I was like, nah, it's all right, I don't need to train for it. So I was like, all right, what are we gonna do? And we went on the hike, but I was slow. I was really slow. I was the slowest out of the group. I pretty much climbed this mountain by myself, 5 days in buttfuck nowhere in Colombia, climbing through the forest, all alone in solitude, made me wake up. It made me wake up to the idea that I was not the person that I thought I was. It made me realize that my ego was completely inflated. And that was the first step to me waking up. That was the first thing, me realizing that, oh my God, I need to get fit, I need to get healthy. And so after that, I came back and I went to the gym. But then, as you do, when you come back, you get back into your routines, you get back into your habits. So I made some changes, but I didn't make loads of changes. But the year after that, I went to Nepal for 3 months and I stayed in a host home. And in this host home, it was in this village, again, in the middle of buttfuck nowhere. I was staying with goats. I had to drink milk straight from the udder at night. I was eating dal and rice twice a day. I was working on the farm. I was working in a school. I was doing all these completely different things. And again, I was able to wake up and come closer to finding myself. And last year I stayed in Southeast Asia for 2 years and I was exposed to all these entrepreneurs doing amazing things. And I'm here again in Bali and I'm staying for 6 months. But the point here, right, is that when you go abroad, when you expose yourself to different cultures, different people, you challenge yourself doing different things, what's going to happen is you're going to be aggressively ripped out of your usual patterns of thinking. You're going to be aggressively ripped out of your patterns of doing things. You're going to have to think for yourself. You're going to have to actually come out of this loop that you're in. And that forces you to wake up. But what happens as a result of that? You literally create a new mind, right? You're going to be in this new environment and you're going to have to fire new neurons together. So that is called neuroplasticity, where you're creating new neural wirings. But when you do that, because you've got a new mind, you take new actions. And as a result of taking new actions, you go away from that script. You start to question things a bit more. And as a result of questioning things a bit more, you wake up and you open yourself up to these new opportunities of the world, realizing that, oh my fucking God, there is more out there than just going to school and getting a good job and getting married and fucking, like, we call it at home. It's funny, me and my brother call it the Northwest London prophecy, where every single person, every single guy in my hometown will literally marry someone else from the same hometown, buy a house in the same area, send the kids to one of 3 schools, and it will just be this repeat, and no one will question it. And everyone's like kind of stressed, everyone's kind of slightly status orientated to an extent, and no one will question it. And people will work in jobs that they kind of hate, but they just put up with it, and it's just like, come on. There's more to life, especially with this world where we have the fucking internet. Like, you can literally message someone. Like I was messaging my friend the other day and like we were just laughing. She was going ha 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 and I was going ha ha ha. I said something funny, she said something funny, whatever. But like our consciousness was connected through WhatsApp at that point. Think about how fucking crazy that is. I can create this video and hopefully you're feeling some sense of emotion. And like, I'm never gonna, well, hopefully I will talk to you, but we might not ever even speak together. That is how crazy it is, and you're not leveraging it because you're getting told that you need to buy a house in 5 years. And so you're happy working in a job which is making you feel like you're living a life below your potential. Come on. All right, so solo travel is something that I think is so important. Go for 2 months, go for 3 months, quit your job, do what you need to do, save up money, get out, all right? Get out of the usual patterns of thinking, but you don't actually have to jet across the world to find your purpose. You don't have to do what I did. You don't have to do what Steve Jobs did by going to India. We don't have to do what many other successful people have done to find their purpose. You can integrate this practice of solitude in your life doing what most people actively avoid. Now, if you look at people in the Western world, they're either working at their job or they're spending a lot of time socializing. And they're going out for dinners. They're kind of seeking these material pleasures, especially on the weekend, because they feel like they need to make the most out of the weekend because their week life is that lackluster. And that's the truth of it. But one of the things that you need to do and what you have to get your head around is that you have to do what most people don't. You have to do the things that other people aren't doing, because if you continue doing what they're doing, you're going to end up with the same life that they have. And so one of the things that you can do, which is super easy, is just spend time by yourself. Walk alone, sit alone, journal alone, go to dinners alone. I'm living in Bali at the moment and I have dinner alone like literally every day, and it's fucking great. Because I'm sitting there, I'm thinking, I spend so much time alone, to be honest. And I'm just constantly having all these ideas and I'm building this relationship with myself. But as I build this relationship with myself, I get to know myself better. And as I get to know myself better, guess what happens? I'm able to actually build a life and create a life that is aligned to my unique DNA, going back to Robert Greene and what he said about everyone having their unique DNA. And so you have to spend time alone. All right, number 3, knowing yourself isn't enough. Going traveling isn't enough. one of the things that you have to do to find your purpose is expose yourself to new information. And most people don't do this. Most people cannot sit down and read a book. Most people can't even watch a long form YouTube video because they're spending time on fucking TikTok and fucking Instagram Reels. But if you can sit down and actually read a difficult book that actually makes you think, you're gonna expose yourself to new ideas, new ways of thinking that collides with your existing beliefs. And when it collides with your existing beliefs, guess what happens? You create a new mind. This is neuroplasticity, where you think about things in a different way. And as a result of you thinking about things in a different way, guess what? You take new actions. You take actions that are different from the herd. And as a result of taking actions that are different from the herd, you create a life that is different from the herd. And what is a life that is different from the herd? Well, it's a life that is unique to you. And so do what most people don't. Read books. Like really old books as well. A great book recommendation that I read, Mastery is Great by Robert Greene. Another one is Reality Transfer Surfing by some guy called Vladimir. And it's changed my life. And it's changing my life as I read it. All right, principle number 4. Now this is something that I've actually done recently, but it's super powerful because when you do this every single day, it will change your life. So I was in the gym, I work at the gym here, and then I kind of go downstairs to go to the toilet, and I have a few friends there because it's quite a nice community. And one of the guys that I bumped into, he asked me, "Oh, how's it going? What's new?" And I said, "Oh, nothing's new, same old, doing the same routine," because to be honest, I do the same routine every single day. I wake up, I go to the gym, I work out, I eat. But he called me up on it and he said, No, Niam, nothing's ever the same. Everything's always changing. And that moment has had a profound impact on my life because now every single day in my journal, I open it up and I write to myself, I say, what's changed since yesterday? And so I'm reminding myself of change. And what this means is, it means that you are reminding yourself that you can always reinvent yourself. You can always be something new. You can always change how you think about something. You can always make a pivot because it's so easy to get stuck in the same routines because that is what feels comfortable. It's just what's easy, right? It's easy to go to school and go to university and get a job and climb up the corporate ladder because doing something new is fucking hard. Like, it is fucking hard. But it's so worth it because you're not gonna have to suck your soul and suck the penis of your manager. So yeah, that's also hard as well, just in a slightly different way. But the point here is that if you can remind yourself that something is always changing, then you remind yourself that you can change. And recently I made a big pivot in my business. I was fitness coaching and I still am for a few guys, but I realized that that was limiting me. I realized that me saying that I'm a fitness coach and labeling myself as a fitness coach and boxing myself into that quota was causing me to not be able to create content about all the things that I actually am really passionate about, like this. And so by constantly reminding myself of change, one day I woke up and I was like, fuck, I'm literally boxing myself and I can pivot right now. Like, why am I actually being tied to this one thing? And as soon as I did that, I created the movement, I created this mission, and I feel so much more aligned. But it only happened because I reminded myself that I can change. I reminded myself that every day there's something always changing in your life. Oh, by the way, I even got this mustache because of that as well. Because I was like, why do I always have the same beard? Let me just change. Side point. Number 5, staying open to change is important. It's important to be by yourself. But one of the things that you need to understand is that learning new things without taking action is basically just entertaining yourself. And so you need to take this willingness to learn, this willingness to change, and then put it into the real world and create some value. And the way that you're actually going to do this is literally just by doing things. It's by pushing your boundaries and taking on new challenges and doing things that you are slightly fearful of. So a few years ago, I organized a camp for over 150 kids. They're age 10 plus. I'm part of this youth club that is aimed at helping to holistically develop teenagers by teaching them about Indian culture and by organizing activities on a weekly basis. And every year we do this camp, and it's really fun. It's a jam-packed timetable from like 7 a.m. till 11 p.m. for 4 days. We all go to a campsite. But as you can imagine, 150 kids on a campsite, 15 tents, cooking food, lots of activities going on, like it's kind of manic at the same time. And so when I took this event on, I was like, fuck, like this is gonna be kind of difficult. And I was kind of scared at one point. And on the first day, something happened which was kind of crazy. But we were there at the park, ready to go to the campsite, and the coach company calls me. And I thought everything was going okay. Thought we were on track. Like we'd been pretty organized beforehand. I had my team, everything seemed to be going well. But then they get on the phone and they're like, "Yo, Neil." I don't know if they said yo, but I just added that for the dramatic effect. And they go, "Yo, Neil, one of our coaches is broken down." And I'm like, fuck, what are we gonna do now? Imagine 50 kids need to get to this campsite. They're all meant to go on this one coach. And I say 50 because the rest of 100 had coaches to get there. What are we gonna do with them? And so very quickly, me and my team had to basically figure out a way for the kids to get to the campsite. And we organized cars. We might have got a few taxis, we got a van, we did a bunch of different things, and we had to do that in a very short space of time, especially when parents were there dropping off their kids. We've still got to run the camp and make it feel like there's nothing going wrong at the same time. And so when you go and actually take challenges on, you build something called conviction. You build this sense of, fuck, like I can actually do this. And after every single challenge, and after every single failure that you overcome or experience that you're able to get through, you realize that, oh my God, like even though creating this new life, going off the beaten path, doing things that most people don't is a little bit scary, I can fucking do it. That is the power of doing new challenges. And so organize the holiday with your friends, organize the charity event, run the marathon, go and do what the fuck your heart pleases without fear, because you will get through it and that will push you to go and create the life that you want. All right, peace. Good luck in finding your purpose. Thank you very much for watching. Hope you have a lovely day. And remember, be permissionless. Peace.